Fires. They do keep us warm during the winter months, but when they get out of control, they can be very destructive. By all means, it's not a complete list, but here are 8 devastating fires that has occurred in Maysville, Kentucky in my lifetime. "200 volunteers worked 5 hours battling flames. Flames threatened to envelop a strip of downtown Maysville early Saturday as a fire burned at Carpenter Motors Agency, Williams Brothers store, and the Montgomery Ward building. The loss could exceed $500,000. I remember my father, Leo Humphreys, who worked for Limestone Gas Company at the time, rushed to the scene to shut the gas off for the entire block so it wouldn't be even more devastating. Shorty, Bill Toll, and their brother Don said it could not have started before 7:30 a.m. They were at the plant a good 45 minutes from 7 o'clock on, getting ready for the day's work. They too pinpointed the start of the blaze on the second floor front and said 8 fire extinguishers were used in a futile attempt to control the fire. Bob Williams, owner of the appliance store next to Carpenter's, was more fortunate. He was able to remove 3 loads of furnishings, and all available trucks and U-Hauls were sped to the scene of the devastation. He estimates the loss of his furniture and appliance building at $60,000. Remember, that's at 1971 dollars. At the Montgomery Ward store, the building itself was protected due to a double firewall. Damage to merchandise was minimal, and the store opened for business that same afternoon. Carpenter Motors moved to what used to be the Gibson Motor Sales Building, right across from Maysville High School on 2nd and Limestone Street. Later that same day, as firemen were cleaning up from the Carpenter Motors fire, around 6:30 p.m., a 400-foot column of black smoke was seen again downtown. It was thought the fire has rekindled, and it was soon discovered the fire was at the Maysville Stockyards at Lower Limestone Street in the old calf pens. This fire was extinguished after 90 minutes. Once the Carpenter Motors fire was extinguished and all of the remaining rubble cleared out, as of 2024, it has not been built on since. It still remains a parking lot in downtown Maysville. The McNeill lumber fire was especially complicated because it was during the 1977-1978 blizzard that affected the whole Midwest of the United States of America. People urged to stay away from the river because it was so cold, but yet folks continued to walk across the river on solid ice. Fire Chief Stanley McGowan said as many as 96 firemen from 8 departments took 2.5 hours to bring the McNeill Lumber Company blaze under control. This is what the site looks like today of the McNeill lumber fire. A building that's put up since then, which is now currently vacant, and an empty lot. Just a few days after the McNeill lumber fire, Philip Cobb, closest to the camera, is looking where former chief of Lewisburg Volunteer Fire Department Don Toomey was pointing. "We could see fire through the windows when we arrived," said Fire Chief Stanley McGowan. "But by the time we put down lines and opened the front door, the place just erupted in flames." The Bethel Baptist Church was a total loss. This is what remains of the Bethel Baptist Church as of today. The Burley warehouse picture below here, downtown Maysville, was subject to a mid-morning fire destroying the entire warehouse. Sweeping flames propelled by shifting winds ravaged the Kehoe Viaduct warehouse beginning at approximately 10 a.m. According to Fire Chief Larkin, a female passerby reported flames coming from the rear of the structure yesterday during a morning thunderstorm. A nearby work crew for the city reported seeing lightning strike the building, and officials believe this was the source of the fire. 12 firefighting units responded to the call as a towering smoke and flames attracted crowds of onlookers. In fact, this picture was taken by me. I got there just a little bit too late to catch the fire at its maximum height. The Maysville Mesa County Library now rests at the site of the old Burley warehouse. Maysville was faced with another warehouse fire. The Growers Warehouse on Union Street. A brick warehouse was on fire. Firefighters responded to the fire about 3:30 p.m. and were on the scene within minutes, said Maysville Fire Chief John David Gantley. Interested in seeing the intensity of this fire? Check this current picture out versus one from July of 1995. The fire was already out of control when firefighters arrived, and the need for assistance was immediately apparent. Before the fire was contained 2 hours later, 60 to 75 firefighters responded. Saving this warehouse would have been an impossible task, Gantley admitted. But the firefighters did what was always their first priority, saving lives. Thrown into the bargain was the fact that no homes were lost, despite the fact that several were little more than 8 to 10 feet from the warehouse. This is what the Growers lot looks like today. Another empty lot in the east end of Maysville, Kentucky. Maysville was faced with another warehouse fire. The Growers Tobacco Warehouse on Poplar Street was on fire, which connected to the Liberty Warehouse on Commerce Street. Both went up in flames. Soon the inferno was leaping to 50 feet or higher, casting an eerie pre-dawn glow visible for miles. By 7:30 a.m., it had been brought under control, and both warehouses were a total loss. This area right across the street is once where the Liberty Warehouse stood, with the Growers on the other side of Poplar Street. Both are nothing but parking lots and empty fields today. A mood as gray as the fast darkening skies descended on the residents, business owners, and employees of Maysville late Tuesday afternoon when a historic building, some called it the cornerstone of downtown Maysville, was heavily damaged by a fire. 911 calls came in just after 4 p.m. that the Cox building, built in 1886, was on fire. The scene of rolling smoke from the windows of the building and flames visible through the windows brought shock, then sadness to those watching the fire. Within minutes, the scene changed. The flames grew larger and the smoke rolled off faster. At one point, the smoke was so thick on Market Street, the building could not be seen. Many watching from Market Street covered their mouths to avoid breathing acrid smoke, and several complained the smoke was stinging their eyes. The Maysville Fire Department was assisted by the Ripley, Ohio Fire Department ladder truck, Washington Maysville Volunteer Fire Department, Maysville Police Department, Mason County Sheriff's Office, and the Mason County Chapter of the Red Cross were all on the scene. The scope of the restoration was expanded to a full restoration, including nearly all aspects of the building. Trace Creek Construction had to work quickly to complete both the fire damage repair and the entire renovation of the facility, including plumbing, HVAC, flooring, artwork, and so forth. Because the fire left the building unexpectedly exposed to elements during the harsh winter conditions, Trace Creek took special care to remove and protect fragile period doors and woodwork, as well as the undamaged portion of the Cox Building storefront. Almost 2 years later, the building was fully restored and rededicated back to the public in 2012. Once restoration was completed, this is what the Cox Building looks like today. Maysville was faced with a deadly fire this time. An early morning fire that left a mother, her 3 children, and a neighbor dead started on an enclosed back porch, officials said Tuesday. Fire Chief Doyle continues, saying that firefighters initially tried to enter the residence through the front door but were driven back by heavy smoke. They then attempted to enter through a rear entrance but were driven back by flames and a collapsing roof. It was obviously the area was unsurvivable, officials said. We do believe the fire was an accident, Fire Chief Kevin Doyle said. The Maysville Fire Department was assisted at the scene by Fernleaf Volunteer Fire Department, Washington Volunteer Fire Department, Lewisburg standing by, Maysville Police Department, Kentucky State Police, KSP Arson Investigator, Mason County Coroner, Red Cross, and Kentucky Fire Marshal were all on hand on this devastating fire. The buildings were determined not to be repairable, therefore went ahead and torn down. This is what the West 2nd Street devastating fire looks like today. Eight devastating fires in the Maysville, Kentucky area within my lifetime. I can't leave without remembering those that actually lost their lives battling blazes in the Maysville area years ago. Thanks for watching. Remember, Jesus does love you. I have more historical videos coming soon in the Maysville area. We'll catch you next time.